If I told you there is a company that has never produced a product, never provided a service, and yet owns the assets of the entire world, you would call it a conspiracy. But what if I told you that this company determines the value of the hours you work, the price of the food you eat, and the cost of the roof over your head? They are not elected, they are not audited, and contrary to popular belief, they are not federal. This is the story of the greatest magic trick in financial history. The story of how 6 men on a private island invented a system to steal the world's wealth without firing a single shot. November 1910. A private train car with the blinds drawn leaves Hoboken, New Jersey. Inside are the most powerful bankers in America, Rockefeller Associates, J.P. Morgan's right hand. They are traveling under fake names. They are forbidden from being seen together. If the public knew these men were meeting, the stock market would have collapsed overnight. Their destination, Jekyll Island, an exclusive club off the coast of Georgia, a place where the elite could hunt ducks and decide the fate of nations. The problem they faced was simple: competition. The banking industry was too free. Small banks were growing. The money trust wanted a monopoly over the issuance of currency. They needed a central bank, a lender of last resort that could bail them out with other people's money. But Americans hated central banks. They viewed them as tools of European tyranny. So they did what any good branding agency would do. They changed the name. They didn't call it a central bank. They called it the Federal Reserve. To understand the crime, you have to understand the weapon. And the weapon is the dollar bill in your pocket. Most people think money represents value, gold, silver, labor. But in the system created on Jekyll Island, money represents only one thing: debt. Here is how it works. When the government needs money, they don't tax you directly. That would cause a revolt. Instead, they issue bonds. IOUs. The Federal Reserve buys these bonds. But where does the Fed get the money? Do they have a vault full of gold? No. They click a button. They invent the money out of thin air. It is a check written on an account with a balance of 0. This new money is flooded into the banks. The banks then lend it to you for a mortgage, for a car. But here is the catch. The money for the principal is created, but the money to pay the interest does not exist yet. This creates a mathematical impossibility. There is always more debt in the system than there is money to pay it back. It is a game of musical chairs played on a global scale. And like any Ponzi scheme, it requires new money to constantly flow in to prevent collapse. This is why prices always go up. It's not that things are getting more expensive. It's that your money is becoming worth less. Since the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, the US dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. The hidden tax. Think about that. If you saved $100 in 1913, today it is worth $3. Where did the other $97 go? It was transferred to the people who got the new money first: the banks, the government contractors, the corporations. This is called the Cantillon effect. Inflation is a tax that you pay without voting for it. It destroys the saver. It rewards the debtor. And the ultimate safety net, gold, was removed in 1971. President Nixon temporarily suspended the convertibility of the dollar to gold. That temporary measure is now 50 years old. Since then, the printing presses have never stopped. The debt has exploded from billions to trillions. Throughout history, only one president dared to challenge the monopoly of the Fed: John F. Kennedy. Kennedy understood that whoever controls the money controls the country. On June 4th, 1963, he signed Executive Order 11,110. This order gave the U.S. Treasury the power to issue silver certificates, money backed by actual silver, not debt, money that bypassed the Federal Reserve entirely. It was a declaration of war against the bankers. If this plan succeeded, the Federal Reserve would have been out of business. 6 months later, Kennedy went to Dallas. The executive order was never implemented, and the silver certificates were quietly removed from circulation. Since then, no president has ever touched the Federal Reserve again. The crash of 2008. We saw the cracks in 2008. The banks gambled with this fake money. They bet on houses people couldn't afford, and they lost. In a true capitalist system, they would have gone bankrupt. But in the Federal Reserve System, failure is not an option for the elite. The Fed printed trillions to bail them out. They called it quantitative easing, a fancy term for counterfeiting. They saved the banks, but they killed the middle class. Asset prices soared. The stock market hit record highs, but wages stayed flat. This is why you feel like you're working harder, but getting poorer. Because you are running on a treadmill that the Federal Reserve controls. Now, we are at the end of the cycle. The debt is $34 trillion. The interest payments alone are more than the defense budget. The math no longer works. They cannot print enough to pay the interest without destroying the currency. They have two choices. Option 1. Stop printing. The economy collapses. A depression worse than 1929. Option 2. Keep printing. Hyperinflation. The dollar becomes toilet paper. But there is a third option they are preparing. The solution to the problem they created. CBDCs, Central Bank Digital Currencies. Programmable money, money that they can turn off if you don't behave. No more cash, no more privacy, total control over every transaction you make. If the Fed is the engine of the current system, CBDCs are the cage of the next one. The men on Jekyll Island didn't just want wealth, they wanted power. And for 100 years, they have had it. The question isn't when the crash is coming, it's already here. The dollar is dying. The only question left is, what will you hold when the music stops?